Namaste. Hello. Welcome to today's webinar. Just about to get started. Sorry for the little delay. Kanniks will be joining us. Let me pull up some music and thank you for joining a little. I'm a little late, but who do we have? Hurry IRG from Santa Maria. Glad that you are joining. Please put in the chat where you're zooming from. I am Ankur Patel, joining from Los Angeles. So Kanniks should be joining us just about now. Right. And our topic today, Kashi and Kanchi, timeless temple traditions. Yeah, I'm going to get into temple traditions with Dr. Kanniks Kannikeswaran. Pulling up a little. Kanniks should be joining. All right. Who do we have with us today? Shrilaji from Sydney, namaste. Thank you for joining. There we go. Get the poll going. Let us know if you've attended a webinar before. If this is your first, I'm sorry, a little bit late. We usually start 5 minutes ago. Um, Sending it to join us. All right. Oh, there we are. There's Kanchipuram. All right. Kanchipuram. So let me get us started. Kashi Kanchi, timeless temple traditions is our subject today. And we have the wonderful Kannikeswaran, Dr. Kanniks Kannikeswaran. Let me give him a quick introduction and we'll get started with today's webinar. If you haven't yet put in the chat, please do. Let us know where you're zooming in from. So Kannik's he's actually an internationally known musician, composer, music educator, a scholar. He teaches now at Hindu University of America several different courses spanning Shastriya Sangeet and this temples and traditions. He's known for his pioneering work in Indian American choral and orchestral music based on ragas, but his work through different aspects has brought him to really be an expert on temple traditions as well. So we're glad to have him with us today. And, because temples are not just architectural marvels, they're living embodiments of Sanatana Dharma. And we can have a deep conversation of how they've changed over the millennia from sacred spaces to what we have now, which is a complicated milieu depending on where you're at. So with a short introduction like that, let me give it to Kanixji to get us started for our webinar. Kanixji, let me ask you to unmute. There you go.
All right. So, namaste to everyone. Happy to be here, and we'll just get started in just a bit. This time you're doing the webinar a little differently. Normally, it's like an orientation to the course. So this time, I kind of felt like it would be interesting to just deal with two specific sacred spaces. One is Kashi, and the other is Kanchi. And I'm going to make it very interactive, so feel free to raise your hands and ask questions as we move along. And then Yeah, I would like to encourage questions as much as possible. Um, so I just want to brief, if you can just do a quick thing in the chat window as to what would you like to get from this seminar. If we can get 2 or 3 responses, that'll be nice. People can just post in the chat window what they would like to see in this webinar. What would you like to get from this? Yeah, ancient mysteries. Yes. Something more.
Hariyarji saying background of their traditions and connections. Jituji, glad to have you on. Understanding of our ancient art form. Sridharji saying understanding role of temples from community perspectives and as source of education in dharmic times. Poonamji is saying architecture. Vatsa is asking about the historical significance of Kashi and Kanchi. What aspect of the temple architecture infuse them with spiritual powers, and how do visits to their temples help one's spiritual growth? Sureshi is asking, how about present conditions and the future? And if anybody would like to also raise their hand, I can give you the opportunity to unmute and maybe ask directly. Anything on Sri Yukteswars who lived there. Yukteswars.
Okay, great. This is a good set of questions. So I don't have a set of slides prepared for this, so we can just talk through this and feel free to stop me and ask questions. The only, so what I'm seeing is there are people that have been to these places and there's a lot of history behind them. So let's start with Kashi. So when I was a kid in school, remember when you're in school, when you're like 6 7 years old, they play games like the teacher points the finger up, then you look up, point the finger down, you look down. The teacher points the finger to the side, you look that side, just to test your presence of mind. So there was I don't remember who it was, but there was one teacher who used to say, if I say Kashi, you should look up. And if I say Kanchi, you should look down. So anytime I think of Kashi and Kanchi, that is what I'm reminded of. I don't even remember who the teacher was, but I remember playing this game. And actually thinking of it, it's a very nice way of introducing this. Although I studied in a Catholic school till grade 5, but this was the game that was taught to us in school. So Kashi means to look up, Kanchi means to look down, which means Kashi is in the northern direction relative to where we were. Of course, if you live in Kashmir, both of these are south of you. I lived in Chennai. So Kanchi is in southern India and Kashi is in northern India for all practical purposes. So, and both these are very ancient places, and both these are associated with historical personalities. And I do see mentions of Yukteswar Giri, um, about dying in Kanchi. Well, actually, no, it's more about dying in Kashi. So let me start with that first. Um, uh, how have you heard of the term moksha dham? Moksha. What is moksha? Anyone? Just type your answers. Enlightenment. Okay, keep going. Liberation. Liberation from what? From senses. Okay. Stop for the birth. Okay, good. Okay, apparently in 1947, somebody went and told Ramana Maharshi, yeah, we have attained freedom. And he asked, freedom from what? So basically, the fundamental search in our lives is for that freedom from the veil of ignorance, from the delusion. All these are good answers. Spiritual liberation from samsara, the bondage of the mind, the attachments to the it's our desires, it's our vasanas, it is our attachments that cause us to be born over and over again, not only in many lives but also in the same life over and over again, till we actually get liberated from something. We find the very same circumstances coming back to us, right? So that liberation is what moksha is. Um, Freedom from raga and dvesha, yes. Freedom from the idea of duality, freedom from the idea of otherness. So, all this. So, moksham. So, the seven dhams are Ayodhya, Kashi, Kanchi, Mathura, Haridwar, Ujjain, and Puri. Or seven of them. So it's if you see one of my music videos which is out there, which is called Rag Darshan, at the end of the end of part two, we actually address this. Ayodhya Kashi Kanchi Mathuro Jayani Maya Purya Dikshetre Moksha Dayini. So Devi is the grantor of moksha, Shiva is the grantor of moksha, Vishnu is the grantor of moksha. All the Paramatma is the one that liberates us. And these sites bring moksha to they make moksha literally accessible, because when you go there, all you're thinking of is moksha. Unlike when you're in day-to-day life, when you're worried about what the market's going to do, who's going to attack who, what policies are going to happen, is a plane going to be late, that this and all kind of stuff. So, but when you're in the presence of, when you're a mumukshu, when you're actually seeking moksha, the quality, the life itself is very different. So these are all moksha puris. Apart from these, there's another set of four places. Uh, One is if you get a darshan in Chidambaram, you are assured of moksha. If you're born in a place called Kamalalaya, the abode of the lotus, the abode of Kamalamba, it's called Srinagara, it's in southern India, it's called Tiruvarur. If you're born there, you are assured of mukti or moksha. The third is if you die in Banaras, if you die in Kashi, you're assured of moksha. And the fourth is a place called Arunachala. Arunachala is like if you smaranat kaivalyam. If you think of Arunachala, if you keep Arunachala in your thoughts, you are guaranteed moksha. And Arunachala is the abode of Ramana Maharishi, who was like the 20th century uh, um, walking Advaitin, who taught through the message of silence. Okay, so Kashi is one of the moksha puris, and Kashi is one of the most ancient places in India. And Kashi is known for so many things. First of all, it's a city of light. It's where the Ganga is the Uttara Vahini. It flows in a northern direction. And when you take a boat on the Ganga and actually go northward and look to your left, you will see representation from every part of India. It's almost like a visual thinking of Kashi as a spiritual Rajdhani of India, a spiritual capital of India, where every region of India wanted to have a presence. So, and of course, you have the flashy aartis and other things at night these days, which were not there once upon a time. These are more of a this is more of a commercial spectacle right now. Then the key thing you notice in Kashi as you go along the ghats is the incessant cremations that go on round the clock from dawn to dusk. For all 24 hours, actually. There's no time limit of any kind. Corpses come, they're cremated. And it's a place where death is not feared. It is just not fear at all. The thing is, it's only when you go there to places like that that you put death in perspective. You know, when we lose a near one or a dear one, when, like for instance, when my parents died 7 years apart, like every death was a big deal with the 13-day ceremony and all that kind of stuff. Each of these was, I mean, it was like a big loss. But when you go to Kashi and you walk across those, walk through the ghats, it's like cremations are happening round the clock. So it's a matter of fact for the kind of acceptance of the fact that death is just a mere rite of passage. And what more, the Sri Vishwanatha temple that is in Kashi is a place where there's a Bhasma Abhisheka that happens every night. It's a special darshan. I've not seen it, but I've heard about it. So where the Bhasma from the cremation ground is actually offered as an Abhisheka Dravya to Vishwanatha himself. So uh, um, I wouldn't say death is trivialized, but death is actually accepted. It's actually um, celebrated in Varanasi. So now this course is about temples and traditions, Hindu temples and traditions. It's going to talk about a lot of things. One thing it's going to talk about is what's called the sacred geography of India. And what do we mean by the sacred geography of India? Any takers? Something that I always maintain is that the land, what is the, yeah, Punya Bhumis. Okay. What do we refer to as the land of birth? Our land of birth. We call it the Janma Bhumi. And where we, let's say I was born in India. That's my Janma Bhumi. I live in the US. So how do I refer to the US? It's my Karma Bhumi. It's where I work. Then when I go on a pilgrimage, where do I go to? I go back to Bharat. And that's what I refer to as a Punya Bhumi. So for a person born in India, working in India, and going on pilgrimages in India, all three bhumis are the same. For a person of Indian origin who's born, let's say, in Uganda or Nigeria or Trinidad, working in the US, even to them, their Janma Bhumi is not the Punya Bhumi. The Punya Bhumi is still Bharat. So, literally, the land between the Himalayas and the ocean is Bharat. And throughout Bharat, there is a tradition of holding the land sacred. Every river is a tirtha. There are many holy places which have been sacred for since time immemorial. And there are kshetras or places where temples have been built and worship has been carried on for generations together. And it's the sacredness of the tirtha or the sacredness of the kshetra that attracts special people to those places. And the fact that the special people have come there makes it a source of attraction for future generations. Like, for example, if you take Kashi, many great souls have lived there. Probably the most important of them is Adi Shankara. Now, Adi Shankara is a towering figure when it comes to Indian spiritual history. Adi Shankara was born in the southern state of Kerala. Then he lived for a short lifespan of about 33 years. And during that time, he covered all of India. He traveled all over India by foot. And he visited many holy places and he documented them with his verses. Like, for instance, we have the Dwadasha Jyotirlinga Stotra. So, the Jyotirlingas, there are 12 of them. So, the first one in this traditionally is in Western India, Saurashtra. Saurashtre Somanatham Sri Shaile Mallikarjunam, and so on and so forth. In Ujjain, you have Mahakalam. In Omkara, you have Maleshwara. Then you have in Maharashtra, you have Bhima Shankar. Then you have Triambakeshwar. Then you have Naganath, and so on. In the south, the southernmost of them is Rameshwaram. The story about Rameshwaram is that Ram, after killing Ravan, on his way back to Ayodhya, he stopped at Rameshwaram, made a lingam of mud, and offered worship to it. Then Sri Shailam in Andhra is one of the Jyotirlingas. Then you have Kashi, which is also a Jyotirlinga. So these lingas are Jyoti Swarupas, literally. But what you actually see there is not a column of light. It's actually lingam that symbolizes this column of light. The northernmost of this Jyotirlingas is Kedarnath. So if you look at all of them together, it's like a sacred trail. There's another sacred trail of the Shakti Pitams. There's 51 of them. They are all tied to the legend of the yajna done by Daksha Prajapati. And then how Shiva's wife Sati went to this yajna where Daksha humiliated Shiva, although he was not there. And Sati felt, so actually, he insulted Shiva. So Sati felt very, um, sh- she didn't feel good about the whole thing. So she created a yogic fire with her yogic power and immolated herself in it. So Shiva was enraged. So he picked up the half burnt body of Sati and started dancing. And the pieces of the body of Sati fell all over the Punya Bhumi Bharat. And each of these sites constitutes a Shakti Peetham. So if you look at all these are symbolic. But what they do is they mark a sacred trail all the way from Kanyakumari in the southernmost tip of India to Kashmir, where Sharda Devi is enshrined, to Kedarnath in the Himalayas on one side. Then you have Hinglaj Mata in Balochistan in the west. And you have a few other Shakti Peethams in, yeah, Kamakhya is the one in northeastern India, in Assam. Then you have Shakti Peethams in Bengal, Bangladesh, and other places. So it's like Shakti is worshipped all over India. Shiva is worshipped all over India. Vishnu is worshipped all over India. So it's like the whole of India, whole of Bharat is a sacred space. And temples have been built over time to commemorate the sacredness. And these temples, from the standpoint of religion, from the standpoint of architecture, from the standpoint of sculpture, from the standpoint of history, from the standpoint of who visited them and when they visited them, from the standpoint of who built them, how they embellished them, from the standpoint of architectural features, from the standpoint of sculptural features, from the standpoint of musical creations, from the standpoint of poetry written about them, from the standpoint of utsavas, of festivals that happen there. So, this forms a fascinating study, and that is what we explore in this class. And we're going to take a break in a little while, but before that, I wanted to spend a few more minutes on Kashi. I don't need to show you any pictures of Kashi. You can actually go to the internet and look up, but I'm sure you all watched TV a few years ago when the Kashi Vishwanath temple was consecrated. Anybody remember watching it live when the temple was opened up? What stands out most about the Kashi Vishwanath temple? Anyone, quickly, from an architectural standpoint? I do need some answers on this. That's the only proof that people are listening. What stands out when you look at an image of Kashi Vishwanath temple? Yes. The Gopuram, the Kashi corridor. Yes. Well, nothing consecrated. Yeah, in a sense. It was the temple is reopened. That's it. It was not like the traditional Kumbhabhishekam of the south. Yes. The Gopuram. Okay. What is special about the Gopuram? The Shikara. What is special about it? Covered in gold. Yes. Yeah. Now, who covered it? Who covered it in gold? Well, that's Maharaja Ranjit Singh. But the Gopuram or the tower or the Shikara, that's what it is. So, if you just go to Google, go and do a Google search on images of the Kashi Vishwanath temple, you'll see plenty of them. So, the temple itself, I remember going there in the year 2009. It's actually a pretty small temple. but it's got a history that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's Kashi's. It's referred to as as the eternal city, and Vishwanath has been in worship there. Vishwanath is the Lord of the universe. Vishwa is the universe. Nath is the Lord. So he is the Lord. He is the Bhagavan of the universe, and his consort Devi is Annapurna or Visalakshi. Yeah, I'm coming to the history of the temple. Um, Kashi was a magnificent temple once upon a time, but it's been subject to invasion and destruction repeatedly. And the final wave of destruction happened in the 1600s during the time of Aurangzeb. And that's a big story altogether. So the temple was destroyed. But then it was thanks to the initiative of the Maratha queen Ahilya Bai Holkar that the temple was rebuilt. Although as a small structure, the original site of the original temple is now the Gyanvapi Mosque, which is adjacent to the current temple. Now, when I went there in 2009, you had to walk through a series of gullies, small lanes to actually reach the temple. And when you go there, it's when you went there, it was difficult even to see the Gopuram, the Shikara of the temple, because it's like you were in such close proximity to it. You literally had to strain your neck and look up to see what was on top. And it was surrounded by small lanes and other things. It is only in the past few years, I think, I don't know how many, I've lost track of time, maybe 5 years ago, that the whole Kashi reconstruct 2019. Yeah, thank you. Whole the reimagination of Kashi started. And it's been reimagined on a scale of the Vijayanagar Empire or even something like that. Somebody had the vision to literally construct a passage all the way from the sacred Ganga River, the Ganga Ghats, to the Vishwanath temple itself. And then actually build a wall around the temple and create a circumambulatory or the Pradakshina Patha and things like that. So because of that, there's a lot more breathing space around, and because of that, the golden shikara has become visible. And this single act of doing this has made Banaras has reactivated it as a pilgrimage center which is visited by thousands of people, actually millions of people each year. And so the Kashi temple is special from the standpoint of integrating all of the following. One is just the sacredness of the site, the Sthala Purana, that it's a part of the one of the Jyotirlinga circuit. It has been visited by personalities such as Adi Shankara and many others. It's Kashi has a transformative capacity to it. If you go there, your perspective on life gets transformed. There's a lot of ancient traditions. Shivratri is very special, as well as Dev Diwali, which comes 15 days after Diwali. It's on a full moon night. So then when you look at the architecture, it's of the northern Indian Nagara style with a shikara on top. And in terms of connections to other parts of the country, it's part of the Dwadasha Jyotirlinga circuit. And it offers a perfect complement to the temples of Kanchi that we're just going to talk about soon after this break. So now let me hand this screen over to Ankurji, and he will talk about the course and how we can get there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. Let me pull that information up. Here it is. It's Hindu Temples and Traditions. I actually took this course. It was a great course. We went through a lot of information like people are asking about in this overview of what parts of the mandir is this for and the different architectural styles and what goes into it. It was very interesting, especially with classmates, other people who have their own engagements and interests. So it is in the chat now. It's going to be on Tuesdays. I think that's why we're having this webinar right now. It's going to be at the same time as now, 8 p.m. Eastern to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. It's going to start July 15th, so you still have about 3-4 weeks before you have to decide to enroll. But sooner the better, and then you get involved in our learning management system. If you haven't taken a course yet, I'll take that poll down, and I will launch this poll if you're interested in this course, uh, Temples and Traditions with Dr. Kanniks Kannikeswaran. So you can click there and see the details. It's going to be about a 10-week course, so July 15th to September 23rd. You get to be a part of the Hindu University of America Learning Management System. You get the at hua.edu email address, and you get to spend time with a wonderful faculty member like Kannikshi, learning about temples and traditions. And yeah, so that's a little bit of that. Please ask your questions now. You can either put it in the chat or in the Q&A box. If you want to raise your hand and ask a question directly, we can facilitate that as well. Yeah. So I got the poll up. If you didn't see it, maybe minimize and maximize your screen. And got a few people filling it out. Thank you. Yeah. What do you think? All right, Kannikshi, back to you.
Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. I want to share a couple of slides. So if we can get some questions in the meantime, please give me just about 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so this class, Temples and Traditions, is a part of our certificate program in Hindu Studies. So it counts towards that wonderful program that we have going. Um, I have said yes to the course, but the time doesn't suit. Yeah, I know. Timing is sometimes such an issue. I don't know if we can really do anything about that, but appreciate your interest in letting us know. What else are people saying? Yeah. Yeah, does anybody have any other kinds of questions we could get into? Hmm. All right.
Okay. Just 1 minute. I should be able to share my screen. Okay, let me share my screen after I close a few apps.
Here's a question from Vatsaji. She's asking, are there aspects of the Kashi Vishwanath temple that particularly highlight Vastu principles?
What's that? What's the question again?
Are there aspects of the Kashi Vishwanath temple that embody and highlight Vastu principles?
I don't have an answer to that actually. But all I could say is this: the construction of temples, ancient temples, is governed by what is called the Agama Shastras. Agamas govern how temples are to be built, how pujas are to be done, and how they even govern the dimensions of the Garbhagraha, or the sanctum in which the deity is housed. Not only that, even they get into details regarding the Shilpa Shastra and how the bronze images are to be made, how festivals are to be carried out, etc., etc. So the layout of temples is part of the Agama Shastra. And the way the temple is built, the way the temple is expanded in Banaras, I'm not sure what is the Agama that they followed. But the Kanchi temples that we're going to look at right now, they are very much in compliance with the Shiva temples are in compliance with the Shaiva Agamas, and the Shakta temples are in compliance with the Shakta Agamas, and then The Vishnu temples are in compliance with the Vaishnava Agamas, the Pancharatra and the Vaikanasha Agamas, which govern how the temple is to be built in order to regulate the energy within the temple that is in conformity with the devata that's being worshipped and the rituals that are being carried out. So let me share my screen and just show you the immediate contrast between Kashi and Kanchi. Okay, if you can see my screen. Okay. So here's a slide of a bunch of temples. The one you see, the leftmost one, is in Gujarat. It's a collection of Jain temples in a Jain pilgrimage center. The one in the middle on top is Tirupati. And anybody knows what the one on the top right is? The answer is it is Pandharpur. And what about the left bottom? It's Konarak. The next one is Chidambaram. So the two in the middle are what we refer to as temples built in the Dravida style of architecture. So Dravida refers to the region that is southern India. It has no connection with politics. It's just a regional, it's a name that indicates the region, the southern region. The architecture here is markedly different from the architecture that you see on the left. The left top one is referred to as the Nagara style of architecture, which is what you see in Kashi. So, um, here's a close-up of Tirupati. You see the tower of the Tirupati temple, which is again in conformity with the southern architecture. This is Chidambaram again. You see the huge tower. It's called the Rajagopuram and the temple tank. Also, these smaller towers, which are referred to as the Vimanas. Then this is a temple from Bengal, the Dakshineshwar temple, the architecture, the Navaranga, with the 9 mini towers here, 4 plus 4 plus 1. That's very different from anything else we've seen so far. This is Kedarnath in the Himalayas, again, the Nagara style of architecture. Then this is a temple called the Kapalishwara temple in Chennai, in the heart of Chennai, again in the Dravida style of architecture. This is the temple in Khajuraho, which also corresponds to the Nagara style of architecture, the northern Indian style. So, as you can see, visually they look very different. So now let's just get into Kanchipuram. So I mentioned up front when we started this class that Kashi is when you look up and Kanchi is when you look down. Kanchi is in southern India. Kashi is in northern India, and both have been centers of scholarship, philosophical debates, and a lot of spiritual activity, a lot of religious activity, a lot of political activity, and lots and lots of culture. Now, Kanchi is known as a city of temples. It's not it is sacred space, but it's very different from the sacred spaces of northern India. There are many consecrated places, centers of energy all over Kanchi. There's supposed to be a total of 108 Shiva temples in Kanchi. In fact, Kanchi is divided into regions literally. One is called the Shiva Kanchi, the other is the Vishnu Kanchi. Then you have a Jina Kanchi as well. So, which represents an area which once had lots of Jain temples. So, um, so Kanchi, um, we refer to it as Kanchipuram, and it's south of Chennai. It can be accessed in about an hour and a half. Um, it's 1.5 hours drive from Chennai. There's EMU trains that take you there as well. And it's if you're not been there, it's definitely well worth the visit. You should spend about 3 or 4 days visiting temples. So you'll get quite a lot out of it. long-lasting traditions and lots of things that you would never have seen before. So the picture that we're looking at here, does anybody know which temple this is in Kanchi? I'd like an answer. If you can type in the chat window. Yes, Chandrasekhar Hari. Yes, thank you. Is this the Kamakshi? It is the Kamakshi temple. So obviously, the Kamakshi temple represents the Shakta tradition. It is considered to be one of the Shakti Pitas. And the Kamakshi Sannidhi is crowned with a Vimana which is plated with gold. And there's a Raja Gopuram, and there's a lot of other architectural features that make the temple interesting. And the Kamakshi temple also has what's called a Sri Chakra Mahameru. The Sri Chakra is a symbol, it's a yantra that is used in Shakta worship. The Sri Chakra has, in a two-dimensional form, it consists of 9 triangles, 5 plus 4, and the intersection of these triangles creates concentric circles which are made up of smaller triangles. And this is known as this is called the Sri Chakram. And the 9 chakras that you see in there are referred to as the Nava Avaranas. Each of the Avaranas is a circle. And this literally represents Devi in the Sri Vidya Shakta tradition, which is the tantric form of worship is part of the worship traditions in Kanchi. And I also want to talk about the Ekambareswarar temple before coming back to Kanchi, to Kamakshi temple again. The temple that you see here, this is again a huge temple complex. It's called the Ekambareswarar temple. What does Amra mean? Not Amla. What is Amra? Anyone? No, that is Ambar. Ambaram is a sky. Amra. The Amra Vriksham refers to the mango tree. The mango tree is what's called the Sthala Vriksham of this temple. What it suggests is that this place must have been a grove of mango trees. So there's an image of Shiva and Parvati under the mango tree. The story goes that Parvati was undergoing tapas for getting reunited with Shiva. And there was a deluge that threatened to flood the land and wash away the Shivalingam that was made of sand, made of earth that she was worshipping. The Shivalingam here, which is worshipped by Parvati, is referred to as the Prithvi Lingam. Prithvi denotes the element earth. Okay? So now that we are talking about elements and we talked about Prithvi, Prithvi is one of the 5 elements. What are the other 4? Can somebody quickly type in? So we talk about the Pancha Mahabhutas. The Pancha Mahabhutas are starting from the grossest one, which is, yes, thank you, Vatsa. The grossest one is earth. The next one is water, then fire, then air, and then the sky, or ether, as you may call it. The sky is the most subtle one. Then you come to air, and then water, and then, sorry, air, and then fire, and then water, and finally Prithvi. So there's a circuit of 5 huge temples down in southern India, which are referred to as the Panchabhuta Sthalas. Panchabhuta Sthala. So Kanchipuram is referred to as the Prithvi Sthalam because the Shivalingam here is made of the element earth. And it was actually worshipped by Kamakshi here, Parvati. And Kamakshi, um, the name Kamakshi comes from the fact that one of the descriptions of Devi is that Ka and Ma. Ka refers to Saraswati and Ma refers to Lakshmi. These are the eyes of Devi. Ka and Ma, Akshi, Kamakshi. So, and there is a Carnatic music composer by name Muthuswami Dikshitar who actually describes Kamakshi as Sharada Rama Nayana. So, her eyes are none other than Saraswati and Lakshmi. So, Kamakshi is thus associated with the Ekambareswarar temple. But the interesting thing is that all over the south, and for that matter, almost all over India, wherever you go to a Shiva temple, there will be a separate mini temple in there for Parvati. But all over the city of Kanchi, when you go to the 108 Shiva temples, you will not see a separate enclosure for Parvati. And the reason is that the presence of Kamakshi in the Kamakshi Amman temple in Kanchi is so overpowering that there is no separate Sannidhi for a Devi in any of the Shiva temples. Now, this temple is huge. The Ekambareswarar temple is huge. And it was originally built by the Pallavas. And then there is a form of Shiva in worship here called Soma Skanda. And what Soma Skanda means, it's Sa Oma Skanda. So basically, it's Shiva along with Uma, which is Parvati, and Skanda, which is Murugan. This is a symbol of fertility. This is a symbol of continuity. This is a symbol of creation, and it's a visualization of Shiva not as a yogi here, but actually as a family man, the charming Somaskanda, who is always seen with Parvati and his son Skanda. Then his consort is Kamakshi, but she is not held in worship separately in this temple. But she is literally the queen of Kanchi and reigns supreme in the Kamakshi Amman temple, which itself is a source of attraction for pilgrims from all over India. Okay, so also between the Shiva temple, the Ekambareswara temple, and the Kamakshi temple, there's a small temple, not a small temple, there's a temple dedicated to Murugan, which is referred to as Kumara Kottam, and or the Goshta for Kumara, or the son of Shiva and Parvati. So as you can see, there's so much of culture in Kanchipuram, and all this is in Shiva Kanchi itself. We haven't even gone to Vishnu Kanchi. Now, added to all this is the Tamil history corresponding to these places. Kanchi was ruled by the Pallavas. And it was in that day and age where we had a bhakti movement in southern India, where there was a group of Tamil saints, yogis, called the Nayanmars, who traveled from place to place singing the glory of temples that they visited. And they created a huge body of work called the Tevaram. And Tevaram works from the 15th, from about 1500 years ago, are in praise of many temples in Kanchipuram. And parallel to them was a group of 12 Vaishnava saints, who are referred to as the Arvars, who also traveled from okay, I'm seeing a question. Why is it that Ganesha doesn't get much representation in Tamil temple architecture? Why do you think so? There is plenty of Ganesha actually. In fact, there's Shodasa Ganapati, which is like 16 forms of Ganapati, which is described in the Puranas. And the way the iconography of Ganesha is described in Puranas, such as the Mudgala Puranas, is actually seen carved in temples. In fact, one of the largest temples of Ganesha in southern India, or for that matter, all over India, is the Ganesha temple in a place called Patti, which is in the deep south. It's one of the older temples. It goes back to the first millennium. And Ganesha is actually carved. It's a huge image of Ganesha, which is carved in bas relief on the wall of a cave, which itself is part of the temple. Then, if you go to a place called Trichy or Tiruchirappalli, which is a fairly good sized city which has an airport, there's a hill on top of which is a Ganesha temple, which is called the Uchi Pillayar temple. And this temple is intimately connected to legends from the Ramayana and the story of Vibhishana. And then every single temple in Tamil Nadu, every single temple in southern India will have a separate shrine for Ganapati. And literally every street will have a small temple or a shrine that's dedicated to Ganesha. So Ganesha is huge in Tamil Nadu. There's no question about it. Um, anyway, going back, we're talking about the Alvars and their tradition of pilgrimage. And if you can picture ourselves back in the 6th century or the 7th centuries, what we would have seen in Kanchi is a flurry of activity, royal activity, as well as religious activity, as well as the saints from the Bhakti movement walking back and forth, visiting temples and creating songs about the temples. So yeah, Suresh Sena is right. Yes, Hampi and Lepakshi have large Ganesha images. Yes. So Ganesha is huge in South India. Okay. Then the next slide that I'm going to show you is that of the Varadaraja Perumal temple. Varadaraja temple is the largest Vishnu temple in Kanchipuram. But even this is only one of the 12 or 13 Vishnu temples there. The old ancient Vatsa, actually it's the other way around. Periya Kanchi is Shiva Kanchi and Chinna Kanchi is the Vishnu Kanchi. Yes. So there's many other temples like Ullagalanda Perumal Kovil, Pachaivannar, Pavaravannar, and so many other Perumal temples that you see all over Kanchipuram. So just imagine how special it must have been during the time of the Arvars to have them walk around singing praises of these temples. The key thing to note is that during the time of the Alvars, these temples were not huge like this. They were expanded over a period of time. The Pallavas started building them, and then the Cholas expanded them, and then the Pandyas came and made their contribution. And then the Vijayanagar kings came along. They were the biggest expanders of the temples. And the Gopurams that you see, the tall towers that you see, they are all thanks to the work of the Vijayanagar kings. So Hampi is a huge part of South Indian culture. If it were not for Vijayanagar, we would not be having the kind of temple culture that we have right now. So these are all the elements that we'll be covering in this class: the contrast between the north and the south, the history, how temples were built, how some of them were restored, what are the traditions, what are the forms of architecture, what are the festival traditions, what are the kinds of sculpture that you see, and more importantly, what are the Sthala Puranas. So I just talked about very quickly mentioned the connection between Ganesha and the Ramayanam. The story is that Sri Rama in Ayodhya had with him an image of Mahavishnu that he worshipped on on a daily basis. So when Vibhishana goes there for the Rama Pattabhishekam, at some point in time he had to take leave, and Rama wanted to gift him something. So he gave him the image of Vishnu that he had held in worship all along, but he gave it to him with the caveat that Vibhishana was supposed to take it with him all the way to to Lanka and install it there. But if he stopped anywhere on the way and placed the idol on the ground, he would not be able to remove it. So Vibhishana walks very carefully carrying this image, but when he reaches the Kaveri area near Tiruchirappalli in southern India, he he's forced to make a halt to relieve himself. And then he sees a little boy and asks him to safeguard the image of Vishnu and not put it on the ground till he got back. And then Vibhishana goes, he relieves himself and spends some time and comes back, and this boy is gone. Actually, the boy is hovering around here, but the image is stuck to the ground. Vibhishana tries to remove it, but he's unable to do it. So he's really mad at the boy for having placed the image on the ground. So he runs towards him to punish him. But the boy is very nimble and agile, so he starts running really fast. And Vibhishana chases him. The boy runs and runs and runs and climbs up a hill. And Vibhishana follows him, panting all the way up the hill. Once he goes there, he realizes that the boy is none other than Ganesha, seated on top of the hill. So the Uchipallayar coil that you see in Trichy goes back to this story. So these are all Puranas that are linked to the sacred spaces, such as Srirangam, the Uchipallayar coil in Trichy, and Ayodhya. So three major places are linked using this legend. So these are all called the Sthala Puranas. So we'll be getting into the symbolism of Sthala Puranas throughout this class. So you'll hear a lot of interesting stories, learn about a lot of interesting things, and the course will transform you if you immerse yourself in it. So I'm going to now hand it over to Ankur to see how we can take this.
Okay. Thank you for that. I've got the poll up. Please let us know if you're interested in this course or one of the programs. Anybody have some other questions? Vatsaji, there's a new one. Can you please clarify what attributes qualify a Vaishnavite temple, um, like the Viradarajar or the Parthasharati temple in Chennai is one of the 108 Divya Shaktrams?
Yeah, 15 to 1700 years ago, there lived a set of 12 Alvars who walked around the Tamil region and beyond singing praises of temples that they visited. Basically, they created a set of poetry which showed the relationship between them and Perumal or Mahavishnu. And in the process, they mentioned a bunch of number of temples, and the temples that are mentioned by the verses of the Alvars are referred to as the um, Divya Deshams, actually. Divya Desam, as we call it in Tamil. Desha is a place, Divya is something that's beyond, something very special, something beyond what we can see. So, somebody has a question. Vatapi. Yeah. This place called Badami in Karnataka, whose original name is Vatapi. And there was a Pallava general um, who, Paranjoti, his name was. And then when the Pallava armies raided Vatapi, they brought back with them an image of Ganesha. It's generally believed that this image is housed in a place called Tiruchengatangudi, but it's also believed that this image is housed in a place called Tiruvarur near Tanjavur. This is supposed to be the birthplace of a composer called Muthuswami Dikshita. And it's believed that Vatapi Ganapati is housed in that temple. Yeah. So that's all I had for today. Happy to answer
Okay.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, please take a look at the course. I'll re-put it in the chat at the same time, starting mid-July, July 15th. Yeah, and maybe on the way out I can play that Rag Darshan. I have that queued up in YouTube. So if you want to stick around for that, they can see one. I mean, that is such a magnificent video. So I'm happy to share that as people want to hang out for that. But my pleasure to host you as always. Sorry for being a little bit late. But I think that the audience appreciated your presentation, and hopefully we'll see you in class. All right. Thank you, everyone. Kannikshi, last thoughts from you?
I think that's it. If you are even remotely interested in this topic, you will enjoy it. And there's a very nice comment here from Suresh ji. Thank you very much, Suresh. Um, uh, that was a very nice batch that we had when Suresh Shenoy was in part of the class. Um, that was probably the first time we offered the class, and we explored so many topics. And um, if you delve deep into the culture of temples, especially if you live in the US, it'll help you appreciate your next trip to India in a much better way, and it'll literally transform you. I get transformed every time I teach this class. So thank you very much. I look forward to seeing people in this class.
Great. All right. So I
Thank you
have
all.
Ragdarshan Azadi so people can
Yeah,
hear audio.
it'll start in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Panchadasharadamalinīं सकलदेशकालप्रवर्तिनीं शतमार्गसमतत्वदर्शिनीं शतकोटिजनरूपधारिणी वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे वन्दे भरतादिपूर्वीक मुनिगणवेदिनी पूर्वीक मुनिगणवेदिनी वेदशास्त्र पुराणेतिहास काव्यनाटकालं कृताम् उत्तुंग हिमाचल केदार मकुटा केदार मकुटा समुद्र संप्रोक्षितोर्मिका भोजचरणा द्वीपकल्पां पटुतरदीपां विकल्पाम् नीलमलयनिरतां नीलाम्बरी सारङ्गमयकाननाम्भरणाम् अमलाम् गङ्गा यमुना सरस्वती गोदावरी नर्मदा कावेरी सिन्धु सरोवर ब्रह्मपुत्र जलव्यापिनी विविधाकारा धीरां धीरसमर्चितां गम्भीरां गगनान्तस्थां ज्ञानार्णवां कापि सुलभां करुणासागरां कलावतीं कलालापां कलानन्दकलिकां शृङ्गाररससम्पूर्णाम् उत्तुङ्गगोपुरसदना महाभोगसम्पत्प्रदात्रीं निर्मोहा यमनियमाद्याष्टाङ्गयोगविहितं कल्याणगुणशालिनी यमनियमाद्यष्टाङ्गयोगविहितां कल्याणगुणशालिनी ज्ञानपदैश्वर्यवीर्यतेजो सौशील्यवात्सल्य कृपापागां जनसम्मोहां वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम्
आसेतु हिमाचलपर्यन्त दिग्विजयकृत् शङ्कराचार्य विदिताखिलाण्ड परमेश्वरीं
काश्मीरपुरश्री शारदा कलावती भारती पञ्चापकेशयुवती परमानन्दभैरवी परमानन्दभैरवी
मेघालयामरुणां त्रिपुराम्बिकां नागाभरणां मेघालयां त्रिपुराम्
कामाख्यपुरवासिनीं कामवर्धिनीं
माळवगौडदेशव्यापिनीं महाभैरवसुपूजितां
भैरव पूजिता
यमुना नदीतीरवृन्दावनव्रज पुण्यभूम्याम्
प्रभास गुर्जर पीठस्थितां श्रीकालिकां
शिवानुग्रहदां श्रीशिवां भवानीं भवनाशिनीं त्रिलिङ्गकलिङ्गत्रिखण्डेशीं तारिणीं
हिन्दोळद्युतिं जगद्वन्द्यां विन्ध्यवासिनी हिन्दोळद्युतिं जगद्वन्द्यां विन्ध्यवासिनी विद्यारण्यविनुता विजयनागरी कनकवर्षिणी विजयनागरी कर्नाटादि बहुदेश पालिनी शूलिनी मलयमारुतशीतलां मलयाचलनिकेतनाम्
बिन्दुमण्डलवासिनीं मालिनीं कन्याकुमारीम्
अयोध्या काशी काञ्ची मधुरोज्जयिनी मायापूर्यादिक्षेत्रे श्री मोक्षदायिनी वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे
वन्दे मातरम्
मनमोहनकर संगीत स्वर राग ताळ विनोदिनी तेजो नील नीरांबर भूपालिनी
सरि गम पद निध प ग म प म ग सरि गम पद निध प सरि गम पद निध प सरि गम पद निध प
सरिगम पद निरता चित्तरंजन कर चतुरा चित्तरंजन कर चतुरा अतोड्यादिवाद्य सम्मोदिनी विरागिणी मतोड्यादिवाद्य सम्मोदिनी विरागिणी मृदुभाषिणीं श्रितरञ्जनीं श्यामाभामतुलां
मृदुभाषिणीं श्रुतरञ्जनीं रामां रमणीम्
आनन्दकन्दविमलां सुजलां सुफलाम् आनन्दकन्दविमलाम् अखिलाण्डकोटिब्रह्माण्डनायकीं राज्ञीं पुराणीम् अखिलाण्डकोटिब्रह्माण्डनायकीं राज्ञीं पुराणीं पलाशपुष्पसङ्काशामरुणाभोजचरणा सर्वारुणानवद्याङ्गीं लताङ्गीं वराङ्गीं
चारुचन्द्रकलाधर केशीं चारुरूपां चारुहासां
वसन्तऋत्व्यालङ्कृतां सुमतां सुखदां वरदां वसन्तऋत्व्यालङ्कृतां सुखदां वरदां सुगन्धतरां
हिमकुन्दविधुसङ्काशां हेमन्तां हिमवन्ताम्
वियतादिभूतकिरणावळिं प्राणदात्रीं प्राणरूपिणीं मलयाद्रिपर्वतवर्धिनीं मलहारिणीम्
मलयाद्रिपर्वतवर्धिनीं मलहारिणीम्
मलहारिणीं भवानीं अमृतवर्षिणीं
वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्
योगानन्दां युगन्धरां योगिनीं योगदां
श्रीचक्रनिलयां कमलां ललितां त्रिपुरसुन्दरीं श्रीचक्रनिलयां कमलां ललितां त्रिपुरसुन्दरीं
मूलाधारैकनिलयां हंसध्वनिविराजितां स्वाधिष्ठानाब्जनिलयां भागे श्रीं चन्द्रिकां मणिरङ्गवल्यालङ्कृतां मणिपूराब्जनिलयाम् अनाहताब्जनिलयां सुनादविनोदिनीं
विशुद्धिचक्रनिलयां विरागशुद्धहृदयविदितां धन्यां गौदनसक्तचित्ताम् आज्ञाचक्रान्तरालस्ताम्
चन्द्रवदनां सहस्राराम्बुजारूढाम्
सहस्रविधमधुरनाम्नीं ललितां गौरीं
भट्टारिकां भवतारिणीं भगवतीं बृहदम्बिकाम्
दुराचारशमनीं दुर्गां दुर्लभां कमलां विमलां कमलेशहितां कमलासनवन्दितकञ्जपरां
सहस्रमयीं सरस्वतीं गुहाबां गुरुमण्डलां सरस्वती श्रीमाता महाराज्ञी श्रीनगरनायकी श्रीमहाराज्ञी सिंहासनेश्वरी ज्वालामुखीं भगवतीं भगमालिनीं भैरवीं ज्वालामुखीं भैरवीं
ज्वालामुखीं भगवतीं भगमालिनीं भैरवीं
स्वतन्त्रां सर्वतन्त्रेशीं स्वतन्त्रां सर्वतन्त्रेशीं कवीन्द्रादिनुतभारती विविधभाषिणीं सुमनतोषिणीं श्रीभार्गवी भैरवी वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you stuck around for that, I'll put a link to this in the chat if you want to bookmark that and share that very nice video that Dr. Kannikeswaran put together. Please do consider enrolling in his course or any course coming up at HUA. I'm Ankur Patel. Feel free to reach out anytime. All right. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining.